Now, when you come on vacation to Durango, it's pretty easy to just absolutely fall in love with Durango. That's what happened to me and my wife. We came on vacation here, came on a biking trip and fell in love with Durango, found a home and bought it and moved to Durango. Now, if that's you, you're driving through here or have been here before and really love Durango, this video might be for you because what we're gonna do in this video is really highlight the cons, the negatives of a specific area of the east area of Durango. So instead of just kind of sugarcoating it, instead of just showing you the good parts of Durango, we're really gonna highlight the cons. And I'm also gonna make sure to show you the positives as well, because there's a ton of amazing things that this part of Durango has to offer. I don't wanna just make it sound like avoid this area at all costs. By all means, this area is really cool and really incredible, but I wanna make sure you know what the locals know, and make sure to stick around till the end of this video, because the fifth item is the reason that my parents actually moved away from the east part of Durango to a different part of Durango. So to just give you a little bit of context of what we're gonna go over, I'm gonna walk you through a few different subdivisions. We're not gonna go in as much depth as I normally do because I've shot a video, a full vlog tour, a full neighborhood tour of these subdivisions already. So I'll link that in and I'll show you the screenshot of that thumbnail so you can go and search that and find that video later. But we're gonna give you a good idea of what these neighborhoods have to offer, just like this neighborhood behind me with this really cool pond and beach right here. And then of course, like I mentioned, we're gonna highlight the negatives of a lot of these subdivisions, but just the area in general, give you context to how far some of these areas, some of these neighborhoods are from amenities like the lakes, like downtown Durango, the grocery stores, and what it might be missing and what it has as well. So let's jump into it. Now, our team recently sold a home in the Edgemont Meadows subdivision, which is just up the road from us here off of Florida Road. And that actually closed yesterday. A client purchased it after watching our YouTube channel, just like you guys are today. He reached out, ended up purchasing that home. But we also sold one across Florida Road to another client that bought in the Edgemont Ranch subdivision. And he was very particular in that he didn't want to be right on Florida Road. Totally understandable. And so I want to really point out that a lot of these homes are right on Florida Road. There's a good amount that are right on Florida Road or back up to it in the Edgemont Meadows subdivision, Edgemont Ranch, Edgemont Highlands subdivisions, as well as where we're at now, Ute Pass. You can kind of see the homes behind me here. Now they're backed up a little ways, but you're still looking, their back doors are looking at the road. And then down the way from us, there's several other subdivisions, as well as this subdivision that is still right on that road. So a big negative that a lot of clients have or just see in this area is a lot of homes are on the road. And even if it's not on the road, let's say it's 400 yards, 200 yards backed up, you're still hearing some traffic noise there. So you just want to be cognizant of that. Something that I'm more than happy to do for you guys that I've done for clients in the past, and this client in particular, is go out there, shoot a video, give you a real good understanding of what the sound is from my camera. I have a good microphone and kind of pick up the noise. You can get a real good taste, and I'm just giving you my perspective. By the way, guys, as much as I love shooting these videos, I even love more helping you with your real estate needs. Like I mentioned, I'm a licensed realtor here in Durango, Southwest Colorado, and New Mexico. Love to help you with all of your real estate needs. So give me a call, text or email, days, nights, or weekends. We'd love to help you out. Happy to hop on a Zoom call, show you a map tour of areas that might be best for you, that might fit your criteria best. Maybe some areas that you didn't see in the videos, as well as point you maybe to some videos that you haven't seen that would really help. Let's dive back into the video. So to talk a little bit more about that traffic, as you get further up east of Durango, still on Florida Road, there's homes that are just tucked back a little bit more, and the traffic just dies down a little bit more because you're seeing a lot more acreage lots up there. As you get towards Vallecito, Lemon Reservoir, those areas, the traffic definitely dies down quite a bit because there's just not as many homes that people are commuting to in that area. Now keep in mind, as you get up that way as well, there's still that traffic, there's still homes right on the road. However, a lot of those homes are bigger acreage lots up there. Just as you get further east, let's call it 15 minutes plus from downtown Durango on Florida Road. So they just get to be bigger acreage lots, so those homes are backed up further from the road, and maybe you have some trees that are lining the road, so it just varies. And again, I'm more than happy to get out to that property that you're looking at, show you what the sound is like, because some of these, like these ones behind me, you don't hear the traffic nearly as much. And now before we leave this subdivision, like I mentioned, I want to discuss these subdivisions just a little bit. So we are here in Ute Pass, and this subdivision is really cool because fairly small subdivision, just a few roads that go through it. One particular detail I was just discussing with a client today was they do not allow, I believe they don't allow short-term rentals, so 30-day minimum if you're looking at purchasing here. There is one home on the market right now, I believe. And what I love about this subdivision is you're still pretty close to town. You're not quite higher in elevation yet. You do climb a little bit from downtown Durango, but not nearly as much as Edgemont or some of these other subdivisions that are further east of us here. And I just love that they've got water. They've got this awesome pond here, as you see behind me, then this beach. Like a lot of neighborhoods that have ponds, which there's not a ton, but a lot don't have a beach quite this nice. Another neighborhood that does have one like this is gonna be Falls Creek Ranch. It's going north of Durango. They have a really big pond, like pond/lake. It's really good size. They've got a dock, they've got a beach, they've got an area where you can put your paddle boards. So just to kind of elaborate on other neighborhoods that are slightly or somewhat similar, Falls Creek Ranch is another one. And what's cool about that subdivision is all those lots are 1 acre circular lots. So a little bit different because they kind of have that open space community feel to it. So if you have questions on that one, let me know. A few more details on this subdivision. There are some lots like the ones behind me here that are much bigger, closer to 1 acre. And then there are some lots that are fairly small and a good amount of lots that back up to a ridge. You'll see that quite a bit in this east area because there's just a lot of ridges, or two, big ridges that kind of come throughout this area. So there's a lot of homes that are kind of built on a ridge with a retaining wall behind it. And you'll see some sellers had to do a lot, or owners had to do a lot of work on that retaining wall. That's something my clients have had to look into in the past. Again, just going down some nuances with the negatives of this area. That's not really common, but there's quite a few in this neighborhood itself. Now, one more thing I want to point out about the road when I talk about the noise and the traffic is I would say the ability to bike, road bike, or whatever it might be on this road isn't the best. Like, there are a lot of people that road bike on this road. I just say that it doesn't have a great shoulder, not really wide. If you really want to live where there's a really good road to road bike on, something maybe fairly flat that turns into something that climbs, the Animas Valley, as well as in town, because you can get to the Animas Valley from in town, would be a great spot because they've got County Road 250 and then County Road 203, which both don't get nearly as much traffic as this road does. So check those out. I've done videos on those areas as well. I'll put those up above, a screenshot of those videos right here as well. All right, now we are over in Edgemont Ranch, and Edgemont Ranch, Edgemont Meadows, Edgemont Highlands is all this area, the Edgemont subdivisions. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about where we're at, but more elaborate on still this general area, just this general area of the East Durango area. So the next item on the list, the next con, is going to be the elevation. So we're at 7,366 feet in elevation right where I'm standing here in Edgemont. And downtown Durango, about 13 minutes from us here, is at 6,512. So quite a bit difference, almost 800 feet difference there. And the main thing with that is you're going to get a lot more snow. So I will caveat that by saying in the summer it is going to be a little bit cooler, so that is really nice. But let's jump back to the con, is you're going to get a lot more snow over here. So this is one of the reasons my parents didn't decide to stay here and decided to move from the Edgemont area, because they were just getting quite a bit of snow, and part of it was just dealing with the roof. My dad had this roof rake where he was bringing the snow off the roof, and it just kind of became a pain. He didn't really want to deal with it. Homes can get ice dams. If you leave a home over the winter and this is a second home for you, it could be a problem. Granted, there are some great services that you can call and have them check on it, have them remove those ice dams through the winter. So I really would say that don't take this area off your list if you are thinking of this area as a vacation home. A client just bought a home here recently that bought it as a vacation home, and he's just going to have a management company check in on it and have several people check in on it and that kind of thing in the winter. So The real negative is you are getting a lot more snow. Also, this road on the way up here, as you saw in the video clip before this, is fairly forested. It's not super forested on the way up here. It is fairly forested, so you are going to get more ice on the road with that snow accumulation. My parents weren't big fans of driving into town when they got a lot of snow the night before, whereas us living in the valley north of town, we didn't mind driving into town because we just didn't get nearly the same amount of snow that they got. When they were living here, they would send us a picture or measure the snow, and they were getting approximately 30 to 50% more snow here in Edgemont, just in this area in general, than we were, where we're about 100 feet higher than downtown Durango in the Animas Valley. So I did talk to the Durango weather guy about the variation of the amount of snow that they get here, and it really ranges between 50% and 100% more snow than in town Durango. So it varies based on the storm, but that's really the range. So you really could get double. Going back to the roads are also windy, a little bit windy. Like we discussed with the elevation, they drop in elevation. So it's not like it's a flat road, flat wide road. It doesn't have a big shoulder. Again, it's not super steep or super sketchy, but you want to keep that in mind as well. So it's the drive to town, it's your roofs, it's having to clear. And then if you're getting a bigger lot, you really want to either pay somebody to snowplow it, which is ranging between $150 and $200 each time, depending on the size of lot, the driveway, etc. Or you're either getting an ATV or a plow yourself and figuring that out. So it just comes with a lot more responsibility, a lot more things to think about as you live up this way. Now, I will say living in Edgemont or Ute Pass or some of these other smaller subdivisions, or I should say subdivisions with smaller lots, is not really as big of a deal regarding the plowing, because there's somebody plowing the streets and they're very, very good at plowing the streets, plowing Florida Road. So overall, I wouldn't be that concerned. I just really want to put this on your radar as they get quite a bit more snow than in town Durango. If you have questions, I'm more than happy to forward, shoot me an email, give me a call. I'm more than happy to forward your info on to my parents. They would be happy, they've mentioned it before, they'd be happy to discuss with you their concerns, how they felt about living here specifically, so you could talk to somebody that has lived here. Now, before we jump on to the third con of living in this east area, I'm gonna read off kind of an excerpt, a text from my dad about living in this area, kind of his feeling on the cons. So he said, views can be great if you have an expensive lot, maybe in the Highlands. There's certain lots, he's just saying there's a few lots in here that do have a few decent views, but they're not big, expansive mountain views, just to elaborate on what he's saying. You will have some views of kind of the ridges beyond this Edgemont area, just to elaborate on that. Then he said, with all the snow, be prepared to mitigate the snow load on the roof, as well as deal with the snowplow pushing large quantities of snow from the street into your driveway. He said, lots of dogs off leash using the green belt for a dog park. So just to elaborate on that, there are green belts behind some of these homes, and there are trails. There's about 10 miles worth of trails in these Edgemont subdivisions, and you will see a lot of dogs off leash. His concern, his frustration was some of those dogs were running up to his yard. He had a dog, so there was some frustration there, and he just didn't know there were going to be trails right behind his home. Again, I have a video all about the cons of Edgemont specifically, and I'll put it up right here, or a screenshot of that video, so you can check that where I go in much more detail. But that is one of the cons of the Edgemont subdivisions, is just those trails can go very close to the back of some of these homes. Then let's continue. He said, great if you like a view of people hanging out while you're relaxing on your back porch, or you have a dog and joining the party, kind of like I was mentioning. He said, people blowing through stop signs is a bit disconcerting if you're a walker or runner and pushing a kid on a stroller, as there are a lot of families in this subdivision and some of these other subdivisions in this area. Lots of pine needles that need to be regularly cleaned out of gutters if you have a lot of trees. So just to elaborate on that point, as you can see behind me and in the footage I'm showing you guys, there are a lot of pine trees in this area because we are climbing in elevation. So that honestly is going to lead into the next point, is that there are not a lot of views. And I know my dad's text was touching on this, but there's not a lot of views just in this area in general, just in this east area of Durango. Now I'm going to elaborate on that and actually give a big exception to that, and that is the subdivision called the Cliffs. The Cliffs is an absolutely phenomenal phenomenal subdivision. Again, I'm gonna throw up a screenshot of a video I did where it included the cliffs, and I talked about the Edgemont subdivisions as well and a lot of other subdivisions. In that video, I go in detail on the cliffs, but to tell you a few things about the cliffs, they are really, really gorgeous, incredible lots that have stunning views. Every single lot has breathtaking views. Some of these lots look right into the Animas Valley that is kind of over the ridge from where we're at here, and just the most breathtaking views. So 35-acre lots all in there. The negative of that subdivision is the road climbs and climbs and climbs up to the top of those lots. And again, a lot of those lots are somewhat forested, but some of them are fairly cleared out as well. Like there's a lot of kind of usable land. I do see some owners that have horses in there, that have stables. So that subdivision is really cool. They're very pricey lots. Home prices are up above $2 million in there. But let's get back down into this area off of Florida Road and continue talking about the views. So there are some views, like I mentioned earlier, in the Edgemont subdivisions, but not a lot. Maybe 10% or less of homes have a little bit of a view. I had a client looking at a home across the road on the north side of the road, and there are homes with a little bit of views up as you get higher up there in the subdivision, because again, that side climbs a little bit in elevation, just ever so slightly. And then there are some homes in the next subdivision up, which is Durango Hills. This subdivision has dirt roads, but again, it climbs and climbs and climbs up all the way up to that ridge where on the other side of you is the Animas Valley. And that subdivision has views. Some of these homes have views all the way to New Mexico. So there are a few subdivisions again with views, but most are tucked down in kind of this valley, if you will, that really don't have much views, and with that are also fairly forested. So as you get up towards Lemon Reservoir, Vallecito, as you're going towards Bayfield, it just gets a lot, I'd say not necessarily a lot more forested, but you're really just tucked in the trees is kind of the way that I like to explain it. I was showing a home there earlier that was right on the river. So there are some phenomenal homes right on the river. Although you might not have crazy good views, you have homes on water there. And there aren't many homes on Lemon Reservoir. I know that's a quick side tangent, but Lemon Reservoir is, if you continue from Edgemont, from this area, it's up further, and you don't have very many homes on Lemon, but there are some homes on the other side of it that are really cool as well, and just on the way up to Lemon Reservoir. And then there are a lot of homes on the Los Pinos, or a good handful of homes on the Los Pinos River, as well as the Florida River. All of these homes on those rivers have private access to the river. So there aren't really any public access points to the Florida River. While I'm talking about that, the Edgemont subdivision does have private access, a 1-mile private access to the Florida River as well. So not a ton of views. There are some homes with views, but it's few and far between in this area. And then the next item on the list is that there are not many homes with bigger acreage lots. Now there are some, but there are not a lot as you get, let's just say within that 15-minute range or even 20-minute range of downtown Durango. I get a lot of clients calling me, people calling me asking to live really within that 20 to 15 minutes of downtown Durango. So not a whole lot. There are some 1-acre lots in the Edgemont subdivisions, and then up in the cliffs that I was just discussing, there are 35-acre lots there, but there's just not many at all. And there's very few times where one of those homes will go for sale. And then as you continue, let's just start back in Durango. As you're starting to leave Durango, there are a few subdivisions like Timberline, Songbird. Those are all fairly small lots. Let's say average around a 1/4 acre. And those are still basically in town. And then as you keep driving up the road, there are going to be some lots that are just right off to the side of the road that you'll see that are 5+ acres. And you've got Ute Pass that we were just in that we were talking about. There are some bigger lots there that are closer to 1 acre to 2 acres. When I discuss that there's not bigger acreage lots, so I'm really talking 10+ acres. So anyways, we keep heading up the road. There's going to be Durango Hills, like I mentioned earlier. Those are all closer to 1 to 5 acre lots, somewhere in that range. And there are some that are bigger as well, but again, you're not getting anything that's really in that 15-20 acre range. As you keep heading up towards Lemon Reservoir, Vallecito, there are some bigger lots up there, but again, keep in mind you are getting a lot more snow. You don't have really great views. You're kind of still tucked in, and you're just still getting further away from town. So again, you are fairly forested though. So as you get those lack of views, more snow, you're still fairly forested. So if you really want that, that might be ideal for you. As you go south, just to talk a little bit more about Acreage and some other alternatives, there's some great stuff as you go into the Animas Valley, as well as you go south of town and west of town. West of town, going to be a little bit drier, as well as south of town. North of town, much greener, and the price point definitely goes up. So I hope that helps with Acreage. You know, you're just not seeing a whole lot, but it does really range range. So again, reach out, let me know what you're looking for. I'm happy to kind of dial you in to some subdivisions that might make sense, because it's not like this area has no acreage lots. It's just when we want to get up above that 15-acre range, you're not seeing a whole lot within 15 minutes of Durango. Now, I was thinking about it, and let's actually go ahead and clip in a clip of the subdivision called the Cliffs that I was telling you about, with those phenomenal views that look out over the Animas Valley. So let's clip in that clip now, and then we'll come back and we're actually going to tell you about a market, the Meadow Market, that was recently opened in the Edgemont subdivisions. Let's roll that clip now. So I am a stone's throw away from a home that sits right on Missionary Ridge, right on the edge, looking at this view here. It is absolutely stunning. Now, let's dive into a few of the specifics. The first thing that you really want to know about this subdivision is there's not a lot of homes here, first of all. Not a lot of homes that go on the MLS. So if you're interested in this subdivision, let me know. I do a lot of marketing, a lot of cold calling, a lot of ways to find properties off market. Happy to go to work for you, try to find you something off market here, and do a lot of networking as well. But diving back into that subdivision, just like Durango Hills and a lot of other subdivisions, really, it climbs and climbs and climbs, but the bottom part of that subdivision still gets a decent amount more snow than in town. So let's just talk about kind of the bottom part of that subdivision. Is going to get on average about, well, let me back up and say from a storm we got about a couple months ago, this last winter, they got about 15 inches of snow when in-town Durango got about 13. So only a couple more inches, but usually in-town Durango isn't getting that much snow. So usually they're getting maybe double the amount of snow that in-town Durango is getting. It just varies, but keep in mind as your home is higher and higher in this subdivision, it's gonna get quite a bit more snow because it climbs roughly 2,000 feet in elevation from when you enter this gated subdivision. As much as I love shooting these videos, I love even more helping you guys with your real estate needs. So if you're even thinking about moving to this area, give me a call, text, email, days, nights, weekends. Would love to help you. Licensed realtor here in Durango, Colorado, as well as New Mexico. And then we've got a team that covers the majority of Colorado. And we'd be more than happy to get the drone in the air, as well as give you a community tour, area tour with the drone, as well as a walkthrough, and just hop on Google Earth and zoom and discuss what you're looking for, kind of narrow in on the areas that might be best for you. Let's hop into the rest of the video. So a little bit more info on it. Like I mentioned, it is a gated subdivision. The home prices are right around 2.3 million in the last couple of years. Then the home sizes, the last two homes that sold were both 95-97 square feet. So really good size homes. And then the lot sizes are all going to be 35 acres. Like I mentioned earlier, there's some really cool best kept secrets about these subdivisions. And the one that I want to tell you guys about beyond these insane views is going to be the access to hiking trails. So how I got to this spot where I'm at, where this subdivision backs up to, is I actually parked at the top of Durango Hills. And then I took Forest Service 71 up to Radio Tower 1. Those are the names of the trails. And then got right here to the edge of that subdivision. So you can come up. Now, granted, depending on where your home is situated, you can either come up from that subdivision, although I'm not 100% sure if you can get through from the end of that subdivision or if that private home is in the way of these trails. But if not, you can go around, drive up to Durango Hills, and then hop onto these trails, and you're getting views like this. You've got access to Missionary Ridge, Mini Missionary Ridge, Forest Service 71, Radio Tower 1, just like I mentioned, all these trails that are right on the top of Missionary Ridge. Then there's several others. Stevens Creek Trail is one of them, and they go down this ridge to take you down into the valley right there. Then there's some other trails right behind me there on that ridge, as well as over here. So tons of trails that it backs right up to. And even if your home is closer to Florida Road, you can just drive up, drive into the other subdivision, and hop onto these trails. So it's got some great access. So I mentioned earlier that you're fairly tucked in. You've got a lot of pine trees around you, as you see behind me here. And you might be really wanting that. You might be really saying, hey, that's Colorado. I really want to be in the pines. And a lot of my clients do say that when they give me a call or shoot me an email about moving here. But the thing that I say to them, and just really want to explain and convey to them, is that the reason my parents moved away from this east area of Durango is all of these trees. And it's not that they don't like the trees. Where they moved to, they've still got a lot of trees around them, but it's that you're so tucked in that you don't get a lot of sun in your home. So you really want to either build the home so that you're getting a lot of sun in, a lot of big windows, a lot of exposure to the sun, and make sure it's facing the correct direction, the best direction for you and what your habits are. And to elaborate on that, I was just talking to my dad about this the other day, and kind of his specific things that he really likes in a home is if you're a morning person, you want the home facing a different direction than if you like to sleep in, and if you're more cooking outside in the evenings, hanging outside in the evenings. So not to go on a tangent too much, but it definitely varies based on also the season, right? Depending on where the sun is in that season. But to continue on what I was saying, I want to really give their case study or dive into their case study. So they built their home and their back deck was facing west, and it's not that their back deck was facing the wrong way, but they had so many pine trees right around the home, all around the home, and they didn't build it with really big open or just big windows and really high ceilings. They had fairly high ceilings, but I think if they had a lot bigger windows, a lot more windows on certain sides of the home, it would let in a lot more light. They did do solar tubes, put those in, and they helped a little bit, but just not enough to get enough sunlight in. They just always felt like it was pretty dark in the home. So you really want to be cognizant of that. I'm more than happy to, again, walk through homes for you, give you home tours via my camera, send those videos out to you. I do that all the time for other clients, and then more than happy to get the drone in the air flight around the properties as well. And so I hope that that can help you really kind of dial in, especially if you're not from here. And that should really be able to help you understand if the home is bright enough for you. And I'm really happy to give you my perspective as well when I walk through the property. Now, I actually want to give you guys a bonus con here, something that I just thought of a minute ago, that there's not nearly the amount of biking trails in this area, in the east area, than in town Durango or even in the Animas Valley, or just access to those trails in general. A lot of people move here really wanting to be around trails. You're in the forest here. It definitely feels like Colorado, which is a big checkbox for a lot of people, but you're not super close to the trails. So in Edgemont, like I mentioned, you've got 10+ miles of trails. In neighborhoods that are closer to in-town Durango, you're 5 to 10 minutes away from in-town Durango to those trails, which are tons of different trails, about 40+ miles of trails right in town Durango. And then as we go up further, Durango Hills, I mentioned this subdivision earlier, backs up to Missionary Ridge, which looks over the Animas Valley, and they're connected to a bunch of different trails. So you got Missionary Ridge, Stevens Creek, Halfland Creek. Those trails are phenomenal and have really, really cool views. So up at the top of that subdivision, you've got all of those trails, but you're not really close otherwise. And then this area also kind of backs up to the backside of Horse Gulch. So it's a downhill bike ride, 2 or 3 miles down to get into Horse Gulch. So it's not quite the best access, but it is really good access as well. And then another trail system is Horse Gulch. So Horse Gulch actually has their back entrance. Their back entrance is actually fairly close to the Edgemont subdivisions right here. You go kind of around the corner and down the hill, and you're only about a mile away from kind of the back entrance again to that trail system. So you kind of go down this dirt, you hop on your bike, kind of go down this dirt road for about 2 or 3 miles, maybe 2 miles or so, before you get into Horse Gulch. So the negative is to get back out, you're climbing uphill for about 2 miles or so, but you know, it is a pretty awesome climb and it's not super challenging at the end of the day. So there are those two systems. As you get closer to Lemon Reservoir, Vallecito Reservoir, there's some great trail systems back that way, but it's a little further drive. So keep in mind, you know, you got in town, you've got those trails above Durango Hills, then you've got Horse Gulch, kind of the backside of Horse Gulch right there. So at the end of the day, it's not necessarily a con. You've got some really cool trails right here, but it's not like there's trails right out your back door necessarily. Another thing I wanted to mention is in the Edgemont Ranch side, Edgemont Ranch and Meadows side, you aren't allowed to bike. And then on the other side, on Edgemont Highlands side, you are allowed to bike on the trails. So it does vary a little bit from HOA to HOA. Again, if you're considering this area, reach out. I'm happy to get you those HOA docs, get you more specifics on these subdivisions, as there's certain things that are a little bit frustrating, just like in any HOA, to a lot of my clients. So happy to elaborate on those items. Now, the next next update for you is about the Edgemont Meadows subdivision. So there are still 5 lots available for purchase in the Edgemont Meadows subdivision. And what I love about several of these lots is they have views like this behind me here. Now, if you've seen some of my other videos on the Edgemont Meadows and just Edgemont subdivisions as a whole, there's not a lot of views. There's some little views like this from higher up, some little tiny slivers of views from through some of these pine trees, but not much. So there's still some lots available, and the lots really range in price. So they're ranging right around that 200 to 250 mark in this area. And then there are 18 lots still available in all of the Edgemont Meadows subdivisions. So 18 lots available, 5 just right here. And out of those 18, they range in price from about 190 up to about 370. And there's one lot up at 819,000, but that's over a 2-acre lot. Make sure to check out, I'm gonna put up some titles to some other videos I shot all about the Edgemont subdivisions. So make sure to check out those if you wanna learn more about this subdivision. It is a really cool subdivision. They've got some awesome trails, about 10+ miles of trails throughout. Then they've got Florida River access, a mile of private fishing, and a nice trail that goes right along there, and much, much more. And again, only about 8 minutes from the edge of town and 15 minutes to the middle of downtown. And so I wanted to walk over to some of these lots that are actually still available in the Edgemont Meadows part of the subdivision. As you can see behind me, fairly open, not a lot of trees around us here. And so I want to show you these as examples, as just talking about some of the pros. Like, there definitely are some lots available in here that have some really good, and homes available that have some really good views. Let's actually show you the views, walk over here or just turn around. And still, I wouldn't say these are necessarily breathtaking views, but some really nice ridges beyond us here. And sunset is gonna set right over there. And the Florida River is actually right over there. So you got private access to the Florida River. Again, I don't wanna make this video all about Edgemont, but I wanted to come over here and just show you in general, generalities, that there are areas with better sunlight. You're not having these trees blocking the sun on these lots, and there are several other lots right up the road from us here that are similar to this, in that these trees aren't blocking the sun. And then you are getting some views, especially those homes. Let me turn the camera around a little bit. Those homes over there on the ridge right there are looking out at this similar view. As we continue up that way, there's similar views. And then as you continue up the road, up Florida Road, into some of these other subdivisions, there's some views just as a whole in general, you know, just speaking in generalities, you are kind of tucked in these ridges. So you still might have some of those ridge views. But I wanted to come over here, show you these views, show you some of this topography as well. And then I wanted to come over here and just remind you guys, I'm more than happy to hop on Zoom with you, pull up Google Earth and really show you, give you kind of a personalized map tour of the area and show you areas that I think might be best fit for you based on your criteria. So reach out, give me a call, text or email, days, nights, weekends. Love to help you with all of your real estate needs out here, whether you're thinking about buying, selling, investing, maybe getting a part-time home here just to live in the summer or the winter to be able to come up and ski. Looking forward to connecting with you guys. Really appreciate you watching. I'll see you later.